Hey everybody, it's Andy from Amplify. Today I'm going to lead you through the stretching and mobility program that I want you to complete at home. Now this is a really good routine that doesn't require any equipment, so no excuses. You could do this daily and just needs yourself and maybe a wall space. So follow along with these routines and let me know what you think. We're going to start this routine standing and by a wall. So find yourself some wall space, because we're going to start in a wall sit position, not a full wall sit, just a slight bend in those knees to give us a little hip flexion and a nice flat back against the wall. From there, we're going to lift the chest, nice proud chest, and we're going to have our hips, shoulders, elbows, and wrists against the wall in this position. This really opens us up. And so if you kind of rounding in the spine in that thoracic region, this helps us really create some opening and some extension. From there, we're going to elevate the arms overhead, trying to keep these points of contact. And as you go up, it gets really tight and gets difficult to do, but just do your best. We're trying to maintain those points of contact and really put some effort to it, going up and down in this position. Follow along on the reps and sets that I put there, but 3 sets of 10 is a great starting place. Okay, the next exercise is against the wall, called the lunge chest openers. So it starts us in this half kneeling position where we get one leg really close to the wall as we can, and the second leg about hips distance apart. Now, if you have sore knees, you can put a cushion underneath your knees, and if you have a soccer ball, you can place that and sandwich it between the wall and your leg to make sure this leg doesn't move. That pressure will keep the hips closed, but today I'm going to show it with no equipment, so if you don't have anything, you can just follow along as I am. From here, we're having our arms out in front, and we're just going to maintain this position. Don't allow the hips to open. We're going to open up the arms and try to touch the wall behind us. As you do this, this hip is going to try to compensate and open, and the hip's going to come forward. Again, the soccer ball is really helpful here to be sandwiching, to keep the hip closed, but just be conscious of that as you open and close those arms. Really great for thoracic rotation and getting the shoulders opened up. If you're able to do this one, I then want you to add in the external rotation around the wall. So we're opening up one direction and then the other. Try not to allow these hips and legs to move at all. Make sure you get both sides, but that's your lunge chest opener. Give it a try. All right, the next exercise I have for you is called the hip aeroplane. And we're going to do this in a supported position because you get a much better stretch out of it when you're not worrying about balance. So for this, you need to find something to hold on to, a door frame, a piece of equipment, a piece of furniture, or for me, I've got this frame that I can hold on to here. From there, what we're going to do is step away so that we got to lean in a little bit, arms fully extended. And we start here by extending the hip up as far and as high as you can, getting a good stretch in the stationary leg. From there, we're going to externally rotate the hip. We're going to open it up, and you can see my toe starts to point out, and I'm going as high as I can, externally rotating as much as I can, and you're going to feel a good stretch through the groin in this position. From there, we're going to drop the hip to the other direction, lowering that hip, and now I'm pointing it towards the wall, getting a stretch in this outer hip area, the glutes. We then open up again. Get a feel good stretch and almost cramp-like sensation. We're squeezing that muscle. And then close it, close it, close it, close it. And repeat that process on both legs. That is the supported hip aeroplane. Really good for working the hips. The next exercise I have is called the windmill. Now this can be used as a resistance exercise or as a mobility stretch. It starts with a wide foot position. Now that can vary based on your flexibility level, but just have it something that's challenging for you. Then we're going to point to the ceiling with one arm, and we're going to look at that point that we're pointing at. The other arm is going to be placed on the thigh, and then we're going to push the hips back and out as we lower that arm to touch the toe. I'm still pointing and looking at the ceiling. I come back up to that start position and then repeat that process. You're going to feel a good stretch through the groin and the QL on top here on the back as you do this exercise. Remember, we're going to do both sides. So we just repeat that process and feel a good stretch through both areas. And that is our windmill stretch. Give it a try. Okay, we're moving on towards the floor here. So I'm going to get down onto my hands and knees. We're going to do the world's greatest stretch. And this is a combination of movements. So just follow me along here. It starts in the plank position. So I've got my hands out in front of me and I'm getting a nice tight core as I start this position. From here, I'm going to bring one leg, doesn't matter which side you do first, forward towards that hand or as close to it as you can. You're then going to drop the back knee and lower yourself as low down inside of this leg as you can. Now the forearms is a great goal to aim for, but I myself are a little tight too, so I'm feeling this stretch through the underside of this forward leg. And hands is a great place to be too. But if you can, get as low as you can. You'll feel that deeper position in the deeper stretch. From there, we're going to come up. I'm going to grab my knee. I'm going to pull myself up. And I'm going to posterior tilt. I'm going to pull my hips under and push them forwards as I lean back and get the shoulders away from that position. This is stretching the back hip flexor. So on this back leg, the front side, I'm really trying to create a nice curvature in this right side of my body. Then from there, I'm going to push my hips back, straighten that front leg, lift the toe, and reach for a hamstring stretch. Good. And you need to take each of these movements as slowly as you need to feel a decrease in tension, a release, and a stretch that it can occur. Once you've got that, we're going to put our hands back down, shoot the leg back, bring the other leg forward, same position, lower the back knee, get as low as we can that you feel comfortable. You're gaining some stretch out of. And remember, a stretch should be somewhat discomfort. Okay, it shouldn't be pain-free. There should be a little level of discomfort, and that means the body is feeling that movement, and you're going to get something out of it. The deep lunge, followed by the hip flexor stretch, pushing again the hips forward, pushing my shoulders and chest back, trying to create distance between them, feeling this in the front of that back leg. Then we'll shoot the hips backwards, lift the toe, reach forward for a hamstring stretch. And again, don't rush this. Slow is probably better, so take your time and give that world's greatest stretch a try. All right, next off, we're going to continue on the floor into the 90-90 position. So what we're looking for is 90 degrees in our ankles, knees, and hips. So ankle 90 degrees, knees 90 degrees, hips 90 degrees, knee 90 degrees, ankle 90 degrees. I should see a box right here in front of me, and my shin should be a straight line to the sole of my foot. If I can see those things, I'm in the good position. So check yourself, make sure it looks good. From there, what I'm doing is I'm going to turn to be perpendicular to this forward leg. Now I can have my hands forward if I need to. I'm then going to create a hip hinge, some tension. I'm going to push this hip back and lean over the front leg. Now as you do that, you're going to feel a great glute stretch in this forward leg. And you just sit there and let it stretch. Hold that position. Once you've been there for a considerable amount of time, 30 to 60 seconds, you can come up, put your hands behind you, lift the knees, the heels can stay in the same place. You just switch over, and now I'm facing the other direction. I can lean over and get the other glute. Remember, we're pushing the hip back, hinge over the top, and feel that stretch. And just repeat that back and forth. Give it a try. All right, moving on to the next one. We're going to be laying on our backs for this. Not a nap, but we're going to get a nice back stretch here. This is lumbar rotations. Laying supine, we're going to have our arms out to the sides. Nice T position. We're going to lift up one leg and rotate it over as far as you can, trying to get that knee to the ground without this other arm on the other side lifting. From here, I'm just going to lift my hips slightly and try to get a little bit more rotation out of this position, and then come back to that start. Go to the other side, up and over. Lift the hips a little, get a good twist, but the arms staying flat on the floor. If that's easy for you, use a straight leg, point the toe, and bring the toe across to the hand. And then repeat on the other side. That's your lumbar rotations. Give it a try. Moving on to our next one, scorpions. This requires us to be on our belly. And so we're going to be on our belly, and we're similar position, our arms out to a T here. And we're going to do the opposite motion of those lumbar rotations. We're going to bring our heel and our toe to the opposite hand. Bring them up and across, and as high as you can. Get a good stretch. Don't rush this. It's not impulsive. It's not explosive movement. It's slow and controlled. We're getting alternating sides and a great stretch through the front of the hips, the glutes, the back, and the core in this great scorpion position. Give it a try. Next up, we're going to be doing our prone chest stretch. It's very similar to the scorpion that we just finished. Our arms out to the T. Instead of having a full T, we're going to be in a half push-up position. From here, I'm just going to push away and rotate the body. And with this arm pinned, I'm getting a nice front of the shoulder chest stretch, pushing as much as I need. So whatever your tolerance level, your flexibility level, coming up in that position. I then switch sides, bring my other hand into a push-up position, push up and rotate one side with the other arm pinned. Getting a great stretch through that anterior delt, through the pec. And again, take your time. Next up is our prone swimmers. Now this is a great mobility exercise, multiple parts to it. So follow my cues with this. Give it a try as best as you can. We're going to start on our bellies again, arms behind our back this time. I'm going to place my forehead on the ground, arms laced behind my back. From here, I'm going to lift my elbows as high as I can. So that's the first cue, elbows up. Next, we're going to join our hands in this high position. So hands up, keeping the hands together. From there, extend the arms, separate the hands. Again, still as high a position as we can. Then we rotate forward, maintaining high position, whatever high is for you. Then rotate back, keeping again as high as you can, arms staying straight. Then we're going to bend the elbows behind us, and finally relax the arms back down. So repeat this process. I think 5 times is a good amount. Elbows up. Hands up, extend arms, rotate forward, rotate back, bend the arms, and relax. That's the prone swimmer. Give it a try. All right, next up we have cobra stretch. And this starts in a push-up position. So first we'll lay on the floor, arms either side, nice active hands. Point the toes away. And we're going to stretch the core here, our abs. So what we're going to do is slowly push our shoulders away, pinning the hips to the floor and getting a good stretch through the front side. We're thinking one vertebrae at a time. We're rolling it back, extending the spine as much as we can. Hopefully you can get to a position where you're locking out those arms and a great extension through the spine. Take your time with this. You want to think about each vertebrae one at a time, lifting and extending before the next one. And you're getting a good stretch through the abs. You're pushing your breath in to that core, pushing the abs to the floor, hips to the floor, shoulders as far away from them as possible, creating distance and therefore stretch. And that's your cobra. Give it a try. This is child's pose with thread the needle. We start in our all fours. From there, I'm going to pull back my arms into child's pose. So I'm pulling into the ground with my lats and getting a good stretch through the posterior upper back. Get my lats working here. And then adding that thread the needle, what I want to do is pull my arm through, lace it through that gap, create some tension into the ground, and then sit back again onto our heels. And we're pulling here that way with the ground preventing us from actually moving, but we're feeling a good stretch through the lats, through the posterior delts, everything on the back of the shoulder through this thread the needle. Then come back up to that start position, lace the other arm through, and then pull back again, getting a good lat stretch. So that's child's pose with thread the needle. Give it a try. Okay, our final stretch in this routine is the kneeling forearm stretch. And it starts right here. I'm kneeling on my shins, sitting on my heels, toes pointing away from me. Now this may be a stretch for some of you already. There's a level of discomfort that some people feel on the tops of their foot, on the ankles. There is no real issue of injury here, so try to go through that discomfort. It will relax eventually and give you some relief. So if you're feeling that, know that it will get better. Then what we're going to do is add in the forearms. Really important that we stretch these forearm flexors. So what we're going to do is place our palms down, fingers pointing to you, palms away. And I have to lift my butt a little bit from my heels to get this arm straight in this position. From here, I'm just going to lean back, create some torque and some stretch in those forearms. And I'm able to sit here quite comfortably because it will take some time to create some decrease in tension here. So 30 to 60 seconds again is really that gold standard time frame to allow that stretch to occur. You can torque back as much as you need. Some people may not need much. Once you feel some relief there, you're going to release that and go to the top side. A bent elbow to start this, and then we're going to try to straighten the arms with a stretch on this front side, the extensors of the forearm. Now you can see I can't quite go so straight. It's a little bit tight. So whatever you can do is better than nothing, right? So we're trying to create that straight position in the elbows and feeling that stretch. And that concludes our stretching mobility routine. I hope you find it helpful and do that as many times as you need. There's no real overdoing this stretching. You can do it daily and you should feel some greater range of motion and some relief throughout the body. Hope it helps.